Hey everyone, Logan Hertz here with Hazeltine LLC. We've got back our man DeAndre Clayton. DeAndre, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm good, Logan. It's always a good time when we get together and hang out, man. So I'm happy to
Yeah,
be
it's iron sharpening iron here. We love it. We love it. We keep each
here.
other sharp. So we thought we would go through a couple of comments. I think this is a good follow-up
Mm-hmm.
to a conversation we've been having about why it's important to find and develop a relationship with a good financial professional, how he can help you, and why you need to be careful if you want to try and just do these things all yourself. So, along those lines, let's go through some of the comments that kind of confirm this. And the first one right here is from In Search of Efficiency. And he says,
Okay.
great content as always. As someone who likes doing their own research and being very hands on in these types of matters, I can absolutely confirm that for both infinite banking and velocity banking, you will likely hit the wall of limitation very early on if trying to implement on your own. And a competent, qualified professional will illuminate nuances and elements that would be virtually impossible to uncover on one's own. I have just started the first steps of working with an IBC expert, and this became immediately clear to me, so I thought I would corroborate Logan's insight. Thank you, In Search of Efficiency. I could not agree more. I guess there's really not much for me to add.
Nothing at all.
I will say this: I don't understand the aversion to meeting with a financial professional. It's not like we're charging you any money, right? Even then, I would say, okay, if you're afraid of paying money, that's the scarcity mindset. But putting that to the side, like, I'll meet with you for free, so I don't understand the aversion.
Mhm.
I do understand it takes time to find a good financial professional, so I understand that when we get lumped in with the crowd, a lot of people, maybe they've had bad experiences in the past, and a lot of the financial professionals out there, yeah, maybe wouldn't be the best. But if you already are interested in something specific like infinite banking or velocity banking, why wouldn't you want to schedule time with someone who has an expertise in that, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point. In every case of knowledge or concepts, there's basically stair steps. So the first step is definitely the one that you want to have the strongest foundation on because it has enough to support the next one. So whenever you have a DIYer per se, I want you guys to understand that you may be starting on a faulty step because you don't have the full layout of information or you haven't given yourself the chance to get the full layout of information in order to take the next steps. So then when you hit that wall that was mentioned in the comment, it's going to be wobbly. And a lot of the comments that people have or the misconceptions about whether it be infinite banking or whether it be velocity banking are usually from people who did it themselves and failed. Like,
Yeah, and they don't even know they've failed. That's the thing, right?
right.
They're if you do it the wrong way, you won't necessarily know what you're missing, right? You'll just say, "Oh, I got a HELOC," or "Oh, I got a whole
Mhm.
life policy." And it's okay, how has that changed your life? Because if you're really doing infinite banking, it's going to change your life financially.
Right,
Right? But
right.
they don't see that. They just wanna put a check in the box next to saying, "I'm doing it already." When I was in consulting world, I saw that a lot where I'd go in and meet with different teams and so many times I heard, "We're doing that already. Yeah, we know about that. We're doing that already." I'm like, "Really? Because I don't see the results." Because the goal is not to just put a check in the box next to, "I'm doing infinite banking." The goal is to actually get the results. That's like saying Warren Buffett is investing. I'm doing that too. I'm investing. So I don't think you're getting the same results as Warren Buffett. So maybe you're not doing it already.
Yeah,
So yeah, do it the right way.
yeah.
And
Eh,
I agree with you that if also the other thing too is especially with infinite banking, if you make a
especially
mistake, you might not know it for 5 to 7 years, right? Like you might set it up the wrong way and think you're doing it. And 5 to 7 years later, you end up with a massive problem because you tried to do it on your own. Or even worse, you went and did it with someone who's not an expert in infinite banking. We see this all the time where people get into my YouTube comments or yours and they say they're doing it already. I'm like, "Great, that's good." And then what you find out is for some reason, even though I'm the one who's explaining it the best to them and helping them understand it, they go and give the business to somebody else. I don't know why. Somebody else who's not an expert at all,
it drives you
and
crazy.
and it blows up in your face.
No.
I had a comment from this one person on my First Lien HELOC video, and she says, Man, I'm calling around all my credit unions and they don't know about this, and it's so frustrating." I'm like, "You have
Why,
only yourself to blame for being frustrated.
why don't you?
Why are you calling all your local credit unions and banks?" It's like this person, it's a she's going out of her way to
To
avoid doing business with the person
avoid,
who's
yeah,
actually giving her the
providing the
value.
values.
And
Yeah.
she's like frustrated. She's like, and these are mortgage people. I'm like, yeah, exactly. They're mortgage people, not first lien HELOC people. Do you not understand? It's a specialty. A
Hmm.
mortgage person doesn't know anything about first lien HELOCs. But it's really frustrating because it's like she's going out of her way, making all these phone calls to avoid giving me the business. I don't understand that. I don't understand
It,
this. And
it,
it's like I'm telling you, I'm educating you about BMWs. I run this BMW dealership. You're like, yeah, man, I love BMWs. This is awesome. I'm going to do this. And then I pick up the phone and I call every Honda dealer around me. And I'm like, hey, man, what about BMWs? And they're like, what are you talking? No, we don't do that. And you're like, I don't understand why. I'm so frustrated. These people don't know anything about BMWs.
that,
It's,
you know what it is? It's because I've seen this actually on LinkedIn quite a bit, where for some reason there's an over glorification of not having the specialty or not being compensated for the specialty and the person speaking about it. So in essence, oh, if it's about insurance, of course it's an insurance agent talking about it. Who would you want to be talking about it?
yeah. And this was on the first lien HELOC.
And I see that because we don't, the seeking of outside validation from someone who isn't a professional for that particular thing is amazing to me. I'm like, I would never go to In and Out to find out if Dairy Queen makes good ice cream.
Yeah. I
I
guess they just don't understand specialties. I really, again, and I
no,
think in fairness,
I understand it.
I think we're talking about, I'm going back to this specific comment. I think
Right.
you're talking about something different. And I think we're talking about a very small percentage of the population. So I just want to be clear on that. Because while it's frustrating, we have to remind ourselves that this is a small percentage of the population. Most people are not putting any comments in the YouTube section,
Right.
right? And they're probably doing it the right way. And if I lose business to someone who's actually good, that doesn't upset me as much, right?
Oh
Because I've
no.
had people who they go to another agent and I'm like, oh, and I find out because I've had that. And I'm like, oh, actually, that guy's good. Okay. Yeah, I would rather have the business, but that guy doesn't fit in banking. Like you're at least in the right ballpark, right? As opposed to just going to your local random Northwestern mutual agent who doesn't know anything. And then you get in a VUL course because you'll get a higher return. Just I don't understand why people want to, some people, again, small percentage of population, want to extract as much free information out of me as possible to the point of commenting multiple times in my YouTube section and complaining about how they're not able to get what they want. The obvious question being, why didn't you schedule time with me?
Why do you?
I'm the expert here. We would have gotten it done in one consultation, no problem. Instead, they're going out of their way to give the business to somebody else. So it's like, I run this local coffee shop. You come in and I explain to you all the benefits of this really awesome little local roast coffee, what have you, right? And then after I give you a taste test and teach you all about it, you're like, this is amazing. Now I'm going to go drive 3 hours to Starbucks and get a coffee. I was like, what? So you're going to go out of your way to give your business to the corporate bully rather than the local coffee shop who's actually providing the value. And you really believe that Starbucks coffee and your local roast coffee shop are the same, apparently, right?
Right. Right.
There's
Right.
no differentiation. So yeah, so I appreciate the comment here. Thank you for validating what we're saying. And let's go up a little bit. We're gonna skip through a bunch of these comments and get to, okay, this one here. Here's an example of what happens when you don't, when you decide to try and do it on your own, right?
Mhm.
So this is you choosing you says FSB does not tell you that you must also have a percentage of cash reserves that must be 2 months bank verified, as well as not have a DTI of more than 40%. That will keep you from qualifying, and you will not get 90% LTV on your equity. This is not easy to get, and it takes them 2 months to get back with you, even with a 700 score. It would have been easier and faster and less frustrating to get a regular HELOC from a local bank and chunk onto my mortgage. Okay, my response is it would have been easier and faster and less frustrating if you had just scheduled time with me rather than going around me and trying to do it on your own. All of this stuff would have not been a problem if you had just booked time with me.
You
It
could
would
have
have been
saved
no
so much
problem.
time.
No problem. Why? I
Saved
don't
so much
understand this.
time.
Why do you want to drive 3 hours out of your way to get a mediocre coffee from Starbucks when you can get really good, high quality coffee from the coffee shop right in front of you who's actually providing you the value?
Yeah.
I don't understand this. You're
Yeah.
creating the frustration for yourself.
And and on top of that, I don't understand, like, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, so I guess you're trying to say First Savings Bank did not tell you about the percentage of cash or reserves that you must have for 2 months bank verified. Where'd you hear about it?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Probably from First Savings Bank. So it's like,
And
where'd you get this information?
yep.
You
And
know,
this is another reason why we do not it's not a good idea to publish specific information because it changes all the
right,
time. I am
right.
sure someone, maybe me, probably was talking and saying you can get 90% loan to value. That was the case
That was the case. And
until
now it should be
recently
85. Yeah.
when that particular bank changed it on your primary residence to be 85% loan to value. If you're doing a rental property or vacation property, it'll be different.
Yep.
Interest rates are changing all the time.
Yep.
Underwriting requirements are changing all the
Yep.
time. And when you say this is not easy to get, yeah, we've said that. Like,
You've already
why is
that's
that a
expressing
surprise
in
to
your
you?
video.
Why is that a surprise to you? We've said a first lien HELOC is more difficult to qualify for than a mortgage. You should come talk to us first. I'm working with a real estate investor right now, and we're having a tough time getting him qualified because as a
Mhm.
real estate investor, he shows a very small amount of income for tax purposes. And so it makes him look bad on paper. And so we've got to
Mhm.
navigate that. That's a challenge.
Mm.
Yeah, this is not an easy product to get. Where did you get the impression that this is an easy product to get? I'm not sure. I'm confused. It will take them 2 months to get back to you. Not with my clients.
Yeah.
DeAndre, have you ever had one of your
No,
clients like contact the bank? It takes them 2 months to get
no.
back to you.
And first and foremost, when you go through an ambassador, we schedule the appointment at the end of our appointment with you. So that concept of it taking 2 months, usually the calendar has open appointments a week later.
Yeah, and when she says it takes them 2 months to get back with you, I'm assuming that's as part of the application process. Because, yeah, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know if they're talking about scheduling the consultation. I doubt it. It's probably more in the application process, or maybe they scheduled a consultation on their own. I don't know. But this is another reason why the banks, and here I mean the banks who specialize in first lien HELOCs, okay?
Mhm.
Go with a specialist. Appreciate specialty. Don't go to your generic bank. Don't go to your local credit
Mhm.
union. Don't go to your mortgage broker. They don't understand this. That's like going to a Honda dealer to try and get a BMW. Don't do
Yep.
that. Okay. And I lost my train of thought. But yeah, 2 months to get back with you? No.
Nah, I haven't seen that.
No.
Mhm. I haven't seen.
They're very responsive. And that's where we can help you. We're helping you to navigate the process, right? The bank is doing what the bank does, being a bank and providing product. You still need someone advocating for you and helping you to navigate the process, right? Just like when you're applying for an insurance policy, the insurance company is doing their job, but you still need an agent advocating for you, helping you to navigate the process. If you do it yourself, then you really got only yourself to blame for all the frustration you're having, right?
Yeah. And I'd also add the other part of his statement that he adds is it would have been faster and less frustrating to get a regular HELOC from a local bank and chunk onto my mortgage. What part of it faster? Is the payoff of the property faster or just getting into a product faster? What part of it less frustrating? Getting into the product is less frustrating, or actually the tenure of time while you're actually paying down the property? So you may want to clarify exactly what you mean by that, because I could tell you, on average, when I get clients that call me about their first lien HELOC, it's always, it seems too easy. I get that all the time where people are like, I don't feel like I'm thinking at all. It's just, i- is it really nothing else besides just dropping my income into it? And like, I'm not sending an extra payment. It just comes out at the end. What? Like, so this concept of it being less frustrating, you might be just talking about getting access to a product and not necessarily
Right.
about the
Right. Because
overall.
obviously, if you're making those chunk payments, that's a manual process.
That's a
Whereas
manual.
the first thing HELOC is automated. And then I'll just add, First Savings Bank does not tell you that you must have blah, blah, blah. They will tell you exactly what their requirements are when you book a consultation with them. This is another reason why they don't publicize all their requirements, because they're
Right,
changing all the time. And if you
right.
talk to me, all those questions would have been answered up front. You would have no confusion on it. So again, when you say they do not tell you, yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
And they do tell you. Like,
That's how you know.
okay. All right. Let's go up to another interesting exchange on, these are on Velocity Bank. So here we go. So this comment is from, I don't know, BBZH1NB. I don't know if that means anything, but this was an interesting exchange. So this is on, actually on combining First Lien HELOC with infinite banking. And this was actually an interview with Hutch of Banking Truths. So it's
Okay.
very interesting conversation. So here's what this person says. Most banks offer first liens, and you can open a separate aggregate account with the same bank and then set up automatic sweeps into your HELOC. The reason why I went with my own bank versus FSB was because my bank didn't charge me any closing costs versus FSB, who would have charged me over $6,500 to go with him. It may be more manual work, but if you're disciplined, it will work the same way. What are your thoughts on that, DeAndre?
You don't have a first position HELOC.
Yeah, how are you going to get a first position HELOC with no closing
That's
costs?
Yeah, that in itself is just, so for anyone who has ever watched content about first lien HELOCs and the process of what they do when they go into place, and I'll just make this very quick. They'll take a certain loan to value over the max value of the home. So it may be 85%, it may be 90%, it may be 80%. For investment properties, it might range from 70 to 75%, so on and so forth, right? Then after that, the very next thing the first lien HELOC would do is, because it is replacing a mortgage, it would pay off the mortgage and move the loan value over to the first lien HELOC. So
Right.
it is a full refinance loan. Therefore, there is in no world that simply going to your regular bank, just your run of the mill Wells Fargo. Hey, Wells, I want to set up first position HELOC. Really, hey, look, you don't have to pay off my house. Because in this situation, that would be the only way that there was no cost associated with this, is that there was no payoff of the home, right?
Right. And why are we so obsessed? This is the other thing I see from a lot of these people is, why are we so obsessed with irrelevant details? Why are you even concerned with avoiding closing costs? That's such an unimportant detail relative to the rest of the strategy. If you really understand velocity banking with a first lien HELOC, why are you concerned with how much the closing costs are? That's such an unimportant detail. First of all, you're not paying them out of pocket, probably. You're rolling them into a loan. But when you see the benefit you're going to get, why are you worried about closing costs? You're paying 3 cents to get $500. Why are you worried about making the 3 cents 2 cents? And again, we go back and forth, okay, and we'll get to it. But my basic point that this person just doesn't want to acknowledge is there is no free lunch.
None.
There are costs the bank has to set up the loan. They must pass those costs on to you one way or another, or they're not going to be a profitable business. Do you really, and this guy turns out is working with Bank of America. Do you really think Bank of America is a poorly run business where you're gonna sneak one over on there? You're gonna put one over on them where, hey, I got a free lunch. Look at it, I got a free lunch. No,
Oh,
there is no free lunch. Okay. If you're not paying closing costs, like DeAndre said, probably you think you're in a first lien HELOC, but you're not, or something is going on, right? They're going to make money off of you one way or another. So if you avoid paying closing costs, they're going to charge you somewhere else, right? I don't understand why this is even an issue. And then when he says over $6,500, that's not in line with my experience. Again,
no.
I'm not obsessed with closing costs because it's a very unimportant detail. I don't know how your closing costs were over $6,500. That's not what I see typically. Okay. So I don't know where that came from.
It's one, he talks about them setting up the automatic sweeps. And then at the very end, it says it may be more manual, but if you're disciplined, which one is it? Because an automatic sweep takes the manual out of it. That's the primary argument between why the chunk may be harder to implement with a second position HELOC than having a first position HELOC that automates paying down for
Yep.
you.
And again, this is just, it's always the people who try and do it themselves always obsess over irrelevant details and they miss the big picture.
Yeah.
It's sort of like if you're applying for a whole life insurance policy, but this company pays a higher dividend. Who cares? Like, why are you concerned with that? If you really understand what we're doing in the strategy, you're not going to obsess over that, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to understand, look, there is no free lunch. If
That's
one company pays a higher dividend and the other company pays a lower dividend, not a big deal. But I bet you the one who's paying a lower dividend, maybe they're charging you a lower policy loan interest rate.
and
Maybe,
they're charging lower loans. Yes.
yeah, maybe their mortality costs are low, right? It all balances out.
Yep.
It's all based on mathematics and the
Or
rules of
even the PUA
mathematics.
rider might be cheaper.
Yeah, it's all based on
There's so
mathematics.
many different.
Mathematics are
Yeah.
not flexible. So you're obsessing over, oh, they didn't charge me. What, you think they gave it to you for free? Do you really
Yeah,
believe that Bank of America is giving you a product for free?
They believe it. They believe
Yeah. Now let me throw one other thing out there. I will throw one thing out there. There is something called a loss leader. So if you walk into the bank and you hand them $10 million of assets under management, they might give you a first lien HELOC for free. I could see that. I could see that, right? Because in that case, they're okay taking a loss on the first lien HELOC to get you in the door and get your $10 million of assets under management. Okay.
Yeah.
But it actually works the inverse of what you might expect. Let me give you an example. JP Morgan Chase has multiple credit cards. Some of them have no fees. Some of them, like the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, has a $450 annual fee. I think it's even higher now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, someone like this would look at that and say, I'm not taking that $450 annual fee. I'll take the free card. Guess which one is more profitable for JP Morgan Chase?
The free card.
On the card with no annual fee, that is a profitable card. The card that comes with a $450 annual fee is a loss leader. JP Morgan Chase took a $400 million loss on the credit card that charges $450 annual fee. So why would they do that, DeAndre? Because they're trying to attract the right type of person. If you qualify for a Chase Sapphire Reserve card, it means your credit score is excellent and you have good income and you're financially disciplined, right? It also means you're willing to pay for value. Because if you look at it, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Yeah, you pay a $450 annual fee, but if you're someone who travels at all, you're going to get thousands of dollars worth of benefits out of it. Easily. You'll easily get that annual fee back and then some. So it attracts the right person. So it brings people in the door and then they make money off of you when they sell you a mortgage or when they take your assets under management or when you sign up for a bank account, all those things. Okay. Yep. They're giving you, and so again, someone like this would think they're giving you something for free on this side and they're making you pay $450 or something on the other side. So obviously, DeAndre, the $450 credit card, but they must be making absurd profits. No, it's the opposite, actually. It's the opposite.
Mhm.
If you're willing to come out of pocket and pay, what you find is you actually get much better deals than the people who are just cheapskates. When you think about it, like if you have a bank account and they'll say, hey, we'll charge you $15 a month, unless you keep a certain balance with us, then we won't charge you anything. That's the very basic idea. Wealthy people and people who have the abundance mindset, they get a lot of things for free that the average person pays for because they come in and they're willing to pay for a total package. They establish themselves as a good, valuable customer. And so now that business will give them stuff for free because they want to keep them. I spent time building relationships with local farmers and so I could get really good, high quality food. And I set up delivery as well. So they deliver not to my door, but into my actual freezer. And I offered to pay them for this. I'm like, hey, you're delivering, so I'm willing to pay you. I lived at that time 2 blocks away from the farmer's market. So they were like, ah, it's no big deal. And they didn't charge me. And the reason is because as small business owners, what they value is predictable recurring revenue.
Business.
So they're like, hey, I'm happy to give you the white glove service if it means you're going to be ordering this like every 2 weeks, like clockwork. No problem. So I
Mhm.
got all that for free because I came in with the attitude of, I want to reward you. And so the farmer knows this is a good, high quality, loyal, valuable customer who's willing to pay for quality. No problem, man. I'll give you the best deal I can. If you come in with a scarcity mindset where you're like, I don't want to pay you a dime, why would the farmer even waste his time with you? What's going to happen is you're going to get taken advantage of by the corporate bullies like this guy did. Hey, I didn't get charged any closing costs. That either means you didn't really get a first lien HELOC or they're making money off of you some other way, right? There's no free lunch. Okay. There's no free lunch. Why are you obsessed over that? If they're not making money off of you this way, they'll make money off of you that way. I don't see I don't get it. I really don't get it. Why would you, if you understand the strategy, why would you be obsessed over closing costs? I don't understand it. It's like someone who's making a big real estate investment, obsessing over the appraisal fee, right? This guy was going to charge me $600 for the appraisal. Can you believe that? I'm going to go get an appraisal for free, right? Meanwhile, you're investing like $500,000 into this property. Who cares? Who cares? Why does that matter?
The thought of
No one is going to give you an appraisal for free, right? Come on.
that's a fact. Nobody gives your appraisal for free.
Maybe the bank, if you're financing it with the bank, maybe they might roll that into the loan where it's like, okay,
Right.
you're not really paying for it out of pocket, but you're still paying for it indirectly.
Right.
Yeah. So apparently this guy got a free
Good
lunch.
analogy.
And again, I just have to point out again, First Savings Bank was going to charge you over $6,500. Were they throwing in a golf cart? I mean, what were they doing? I don't know
I
what that
haven't
number
seen.
came from.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
I've never seen that.
I've never
Okay.
seen it.
Yeah. Okay.
Tradi-
All right.
Traditionally, closing is actually lower on first lien HELOCs than they are on mortgage. So I'm like, that's interesting. Okay.
So again, the moral of the story is schedule time, have the abundance mindset, be willing to pay out of pocket. You'll end up getting much better deals than the people who just obsess over price and driving the price as low as possible.
Mhm.
Okay. If you're willing to invest in other people, don't view it as a cost. If you're willing to invest in other people, now find the right people. That's true. The 80/20 rule applies. So, yeah, find a good realtor, but then you want to reward that realtor. You want that realtor to make as much money as possible. Find a good insurance agent, find a
Mhm.
good velocity banking expert, find a good bank, and then you want to make it profitable for both of you. You'll end up with a much better deal overall, right? The more money you're spending with the business, the better the deal they're happy to give you. No problem, right? I was talking to a guy the other day who contacted me for a velocity banking consultation. It was a good conversation, good guy, very good. And he already had an infinite banking policy with another agency. It was a good agency. I know them and they do a
Mhm.
good job. It's a good policy. And he wanted me to help him with combining infinite banking and velocity banking, which is a niche that I've worked out. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, no problem, but I'm going to have to charge you for a consultation because I cannot get the life insurance business, right?
Yeah.
If you give me the life insurance business, all that other stuff is free, right? No problem. I have clients and I give them a lot of my time who are doing infinite banking. And they call me up like, hey, I'm thinking about taking out a policy loan to finance this. Can you help me think through what that would look like? Sure, no problem. We'll work out an amortization table, right? By the way, you think your average life insurance agent is going to do that? You ask him about that, he won't have a clue. He won't have a clue about banking. Okay. Same thing. You want to talk about velocity banking? If you've already given me the life insurance business, no problem. I'll roll out the red carpet for you. I'm not going to charge you a dime. Okay. But for other people who are not willing to do that, well, then I have to charge you for my time
Not a job.
at some point. We can talk initially, but the key is every good financial professional has to have a filtering mechanism.
Right.
Maybe he charges you, maybe he doesn't. But one way or another, he has to filter people out of his pipeline who are not good prospects, right? And so I was talking with a guy about this where he was talking about how a lot of the work that'll put into it, and where he would review policies and help people out and basically tell them, hey, I do this for free because I know I'm going to get 70 to 80% of the people who I do this for, they will do business with me at some point over the next 3 years. But, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And I talked with him and I learned, yeah, he doesn't do that for everyone. You have to meet certain criteria.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's not just going to give you his time for free.
Yeah.
So he will do that, but only for a certain subset of people. He's not going to give his time away for free when like you had someone just randomly sends you an illustration. Say, hey, can you take a look at this?
Yeah. No. No. I can't. I can't take a look at it.
Okay, so now this person reveals they're using Bank of America. So Bank of America allows a 10-year draw, but once you get close to 10-year, you just redo the HELOC again at not cost and reset for another 10 years. Okay. So I think that was because one of the things I learned, I talked with a mortgage broker who is independent and he's trying to offer first lien HELOCs.
Mm-hmm.
And he's finding that, surprise, surprise, they don't really shop that out. They keep it in-house. And if you're not working with a specialty lender, their first lien HELOCs are oftentimes only have a 3-year draw. And you can get a 5-year draw, but you have to pay for it. So if you're your average person on the street, not coming through the ambassador program, you might sign up for a first lien HELOC and not realize you only have a 3-year draw period. So if you don't pay it off in 3 years, now it turns into a mortgage. Just another one of those pitfalls that most people won't realize. They're like, yeah, I got a first lien HELOC. And they won't realize what's going on.
Yeah.
So this person is saying BOA allows a 10-year draw, but once you get close to 10-year, you just redo the HELOC again. Well, you have to qualify. In theory, you can do that, true, but you have to qualify. It's not just like pushing a button. Now, I agree this is a good strategy that to refi to stay in the draw period. I would actually do it sooner, because once you get to the 10 years, if you're not able to qualify, you're stuck, right?
Yeah.
So I would do it maybe 5 years in at not cost. No. Okay. So there are costs associated even with just taking the first lien HELOC, refinancing it so you're in the draw period and maybe getting more equity because hopefully your home went up in value, right? Those costs will be passed on to you. What they typically will do is they will waive maybe the bank origination fee, but there's going to be an appraisal. There are third-party state and title fees. You will be paying for those. Maybe they don't charge you. Maybe they don't pass it on to you directly. So now they're passing it on to you indirectly. Again, there is no free lunch here.
It's a business.
There's no free lunch. So I would rather see those costs and know what they are. And I'm not worried about them because, again, if you really understand velocity banking and infinite banking, you're not going to be obsessing over things like this.
Yeah.
I talk with real estate investors who use this, and they are never worried about closing costs. They're much more worried about liquidity. Like when I need to pull from my HELOC, I want to be sure I can get that instant liquidity. And if it's a higher interest rate, I don't care. Higher closing costs, couldn't care less, right? If it's 85 versus 90% loan to value, yeah, consider that some, but there are other much more important factors to consider, right? These are details, and all things being equal, I'd like for it to be lower costs, but I'm more focused on the strategy in the value, right? So yeah, you can refi the HELOC again, but there will be costs. Period. If the bank doesn't pass those costs on to you, they go out of business. Do you think Bank of America is? Do you think you're going to put one over on Bank of America? Really? The only time they'll do that for you is maybe if they're making money off of you in other ways. So if you give them $2 million of assets under management, all right, then they might actually give you stuff for free to make you a more loyal customer, right? Because they know the more of their products you have, the more loyal you're going to be as a customer.
Mm-hmm.
So assets under management and a mortgage and a bank account, checking account
Mm-hmm.
and a savings account, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they probably will give you that stuff for free because they view it as now you're going to be more loyal to the bank.
Yep.
So no free lunch. No free lunch. Okay, here we go. So again, they're just trying to win an argument. I pay 0 in closing costs every time I redo my line with them for a higher limit, and there is no annual fee. They will
Oh,
charge.
come on now.
It's all free. Bank of America is giving out free stuff, DeAndre.
They're killing me here, man. They're killing me here. I'm trying to.
Next, they're gonna tell me they charge me 0 in interest. Okay. They will charge $450, however, if you refi the line with another lender before 3 years. That's the only con us. They don't allow HELOCs on investment properties. Wow, man. Bank of America is giving you everything for free, DeAndre.
Man, I need a Bank of America rep. Need a Bank of America rep. Somebody call me now. This is
Yeah, there is no free lunch. Okay. The more you are willing to pay for value, here's the thing. It's not so much about being willing to pay for value. It's about something that is very challenging, which is knowing how to properly measure value. And value is subjective, right? Value is subjective. So there might be like an amazing real estate investment right in front of me, but I wouldn't know it because I don't know how to measure. And I'm humble enough to acknowledge that. There are lots of great investments and businesses out there available for purchase that I don't know how to evaluate. So I would pass on them. I'm not saying they're a terrible deal. I'm just saying I don't know how to measure that value, right? So measuring value is a really hard thing to do. But if you can actually accurately measure the value of something, then you will get good deals because you'll know when it's worth paying, right? Just like businesses, if they have a good employee is worth his weight in gold. They will invest in that employee.
yeah.
They're not trying to pay him the bare minimum. No, they're doing the opposite. They want to reward him. They want him highly motivated and excited to work for them.
Yeah.
Same thing, like the bank you're working with, the financial professional you're working with, all these people, you've got to view them as valuable partners that you want to invest in. I do the same thing. I am trying to reward my partners as much as I possibly can. And it might not be a monetary reward, but I've got to reward them.
Who knows? If the loan is this good, the early payoff penalty is $100K.
No free lunch, man.
No free.